Marcus Bennett's hands froze over the keyboard. 50 consultants stood behind him. The CEO held his breath. Millions of dollars hung on the next 3 keystrokes. 3 hours ago, this same company had thrown him out like garbage. "We need someone without external obligations," they'd said. Translation: single fathers need not apply. Now they were begging him to save everything. But here's what nobody expected. Marcus wasn't just going to fix their system. He was about to expose a truth that would shake this company to its core. What happens when the man you reject becomes the only one who can save you? Comment below which city you're watching from, so I can see how far this story travels. And if you want to see how Marcus turns his worst day into his greatest victory, subscribe and stay with me until the end. Marcus Bennett pulled into the parking lot of TechFlow Solutions at exactly 8:27 in the morning. He turned off the engine, but didn't move. His hands gripped the steering wheel so tight, his knuckles went white. He stared at the building through the windshield. All glass and steel. The kind of place that screamed success and money, and everything he didn't have anymore. 15 interviews. 15 rejections. 6 months of hearing, "We'll be in touch," and never getting a call back. His phone buzzed. A text from his neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez. "Emma ate all her breakfast. She made you a good luck card. Go get that job, Marcus." He closed his eyes. Emma, 7 years old. The only reason he got out of bed every morning. The only reason he was sitting in this parking lot, about to walk into another interview that would probably crush him. He checked his reflection in the rearview mirror. His tie was crooked. He fixed it, then fixed it again. Then noticed his hands were shaking. "Get it together," he muttered to himself. "You've done this before. You can do it again." But could he? His savings account had $2,847 left. Rent was $1,400. Emma's school fees were due next week, and his daughter needed new shoes because her toes were pressing against the front of her old ones. But she never complained. She never asked for anything. That's what killed him most. Emma never asked. Marcus grabbed his folder, resume, certificates, references from people who actually knew what he was capable of, and stepped out of the car. The morning air was crisp, early spring, the kind of day that should have felt hopeful. It didn't. He walked toward the entrance, his old dress shoes clicking against the pavement. He'd polished them last night while Emma did her homework at the kitchen table. She'd looked up at him and said, "Daddy, why do you keep going to these meetings if they make you sad?" He hadn't known how to answer. The lobby of TechFlow Solutions was everything Marcus expected and everything he dreaded. Young people everywhere. Mid-20s, maybe early 30s, all of them moving fast, carrying laptops, talking on phones, looking like they had somewhere important to be. Marcus was 38. In tech years, that made him ancient. He approached the reception desk. The woman behind it had a smile that looked practiced, like she'd been trained to make visitors feel welcome while simultaneously assessing whether they belonged. "Good morning," she said. "How can I help you?" "I have an interview at 9. Marcus Bennett." She typed something into her computer. "Yes, Mr. Bennett. Please have a seat. Someone will come for you shortly." Marcus sat in one of the leather chairs in the waiting area. He placed his folder on his lap and tried to look calm. He wasn't calm. His phone buzzed again. This time, an email notification. He opened it without thinking. "Dear Mr. Bennett, thank you for your interest in the systems analyst position at Vertex Technologies. After careful consideration, we have decided to move forward with other candidates. We wish you the best in your future endeavors." Rejection number 14. Marcus stared at the screen. He'd applied to Vertex 3 weeks ago. He'd thought that interview had gone well. He'd answered every technical question correctly. He demonstrated his experience. He'd been professional and prepared. None of it mattered. He deleted the email and put his phone away. Around him, the lobby hummed with activity. Employees swiped their badges and walked through security gates. Delivery people came and went. Everyone had a purpose. Marcus felt invisible. He thought about Datatech Systems, the company where he'd spent 8 years of his life. He'd started there as a junior developer and worked his way up to senior software engineer. He'd built systems, solved problems, saved the company money more times than he could count. Then Meridian Corp had acquired them, and everything changed. "We're consolidating operations in Chicago," they'd announced. "All positions will be relocated. Chicago, 700 miles away." Marcus had gone home that night and looked at Emma, who was drawing a picture at the kitchen table. She'd just started 2nd grade. She had friends. She had her teacher, Mrs. Patterson, who understood that Emma needed extra patience because her mother had left, and she was still figuring out how to trust people. "Daddy," Emma had said that night, "can we have spaghetti for dinner?" And Marcus had made a decision. He couldn't uproot his daughter. He couldn't take her away from the only stability she'd ever known. He couldn't be the second parent to abandon her, even if it was for a job. So he'd stayed. And now he was sitting in the lobby of a company that would probably reject him, too. "Mr. Bennett?" Marcus looked up. A woman in a gray business suit stood in front of him. She was tall, probably mid-40s, with short brown hair and an expression that revealed nothing. "I'm Ms. Davis, the hiring manager. Please follow me." Marcus stood and followed her through a corridor lined with glass-walled offices. Inside, employees worked at computers with multiple monitors. Everyone looked busy. Everyone looked successful. They reached a conference room. 2 other people were already seated at the table. "Mr. Bennett, this is Mr. Johnson from our technical department and Miss Chen from Human Resources." Marcus shook hands with both of them and sat down across from the panel. "Thank you for coming in today," Miss Davis began. "We've reviewed your resume, and we'd like to know more about your experience." Marcus opened his folder. "I worked at Datatech Systems for 8 years as a senior software engineer. I specialized in database management and system optimization. I developed several programs that improved operational efficiency by 30%. Mr. Johnson picked up Marcus's resume and studied it. "Impressive credentials, but I notice you've been unemployed for 6 months. Can you explain this gap?" Marcus had prepared for this question. He'd rehearsed his answer 100 times. Datatech was acquired by Meridian Corp, and they relocated all operations to Chicago. I was unable to move due to personal commitments. "Personal commitments?" Ms. Chen leaned forward. "What kind of personal commitments?" Marcus hesitated. He knew what happened when he told the truth. He'd seen it 14 times already. The subtle shift in body language, the exchanged glances, the way interviewers suddenly became less interested in his qualifications. But lying wasn't an option. It never had been. "I'm a single father," Marcus said. "My daughter is 7 years old. I made the decision not to disrupt her education and social life by moving to another city." The silence that followed lasted only a second, but Marcus felt every millisecond of it. Miss Davis made a note on her paper. Mr. Johnson set down the resume. Miss Chen's expression shifted almost imperceptibly. Marcus knew that shift. He'd seen it before. "I see," Ms. Davis said. "And how would you handle the demands of this position?" "We often require employees to work overtime, especially during project deadlines." "I'm very committed to my work," Marcus replied. "I've always met my deadlines and frequently worked extra hours when necessary. I'm organized and efficient with my time management." "But surely having a young child would create conflicts." Mr. Johnson's tone had changed. It was no longer curious. It was skeptical. "What if we need you to work late? What about weekends? Marcus felt his chest tighten. I have reliable childcare arrangements. My neighbor has been very helpful, and Emma is enrolled in an after-school program. I can be flexible when the job requires it. Ms. Chen folded her hands on the table. Mr. Bennett, we appreciate your honesty about your situation. However, this is a very demanding position. We need someone who can be fully committed to the company's needs. There it was, fully committed. The code phrase. The polite way of saying that single parents were liabilities, not assets. Marcus's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice steady. I understand your concerns, but I believe my skills and experience make me an excellent candidate. I have references who can confirm my dedication and work ethic. Being a parent has actually made me more responsible and better at time management. I'm highly motivated because I have someone depending on me. Ms. Davis glanced at the other two panelists. Something unspoken passed between them. Your technical skills seem adequate, she said. But we're looking for someone who can grow with the company. Someone without external obligations that might interfere with their career advancement. External obligations. That's what Emma was to them. An external obligation. Marcus thought about his daughter waking up this morning, excited because Daddy had an important interview. He thought about the good luck card she'd made, probably covered in hearts and stars, because that's what Emma drew when she wanted to show love. He thought about explaining to her, again, that Daddy didn't get the job. I believe being a parent makes me a stronger candidate, Marcus said, fighting to keep his voice level. It's given me perspective. It's taught me what really matters. And it's made me work harder than I ever have in my life. The interview continued for another 20 minutes. They asked technical questions. Marcus answered them correctly. They asked about his experience with specific systems. Marcus detailed his expertise. They asked about his problem-solving approach. Marcus gave examples from his 8 years at Data Tech. None of it mattered. He could see it in their eyes. They'd made their decision before he'd walked into the room. Everything after his admission about Emma was just going through the motions. Finally, Ms. Davis closed her folder. Thank you for your time, Mr. Bennett. We'll be in touch within a few days. The same words, the same polite dismissal, the same empty promise. Marcus stood and shook hands with each of them. Thank you for considering me, he said. I hope you'll give my application serious thought. Ms. Davis smiled, the kind of smile that meant nothing. We'll certainly consider all candidates carefully. Ms. Davis walked Marcus back to the lobby. The corridor felt longer this time. The glass-walled offices seemed to mock him. All these people with jobs, with purpose, with paychecks that would arrive reliably every 2 weeks. Mr. Bennett, Ms. Davis said as they reached the lobby, I hope you understand that we have to consider what's best for the company. Nothing personal. Nothing personal. Marcus almost laughed. I understand, he said. He walked out through the revolving door, back into the morning sunlight that now felt harsh and indifferent. His car was waiting in the parking lot. Old, reliable, paid off 3 years ago. One of the few things he owned outright. Marcus got in and closed the door. For a moment he just sat there. Then he put his head in his hands. The rejection shouldn't have hurt this much. He'd been through it 14 times already, 15 now. He should have been numb to it, but he wasn't. Each rejection cut deeper than the last. Each one confirmed what he was starting to believe, that he was unemployable. That being a single father had made him worthless in the eyes of the professional world. That no matter how skilled he was, no matter how hard he worked, the fact that he had a daughter to take care of would always count against him. His phone buzzed. Mrs. Rodriguez again. How did it go? Marcus typed back. Not good. Same as always. A few seconds later. I'm sorry, Marcus. But don't give up. Something will come. He wanted to believe that. He'd been telling himself the same thing for 6 months. But hope was getting harder to hold on to. Marcus started the car. He needed to go home, update his job applications, maybe check some new listings. The cycle would begin again. Apply, wait, interview, get rejected, repeat. He was about to pull out of the parking space when something caught his eye. Movement inside the building. Through the large glass windows of the TechFlow lobby, Marcus could see people running. Not walking fast, running. He turned off the engine. More people were gathering now. Employees were clustering around computer terminals. Some were pointing at screens. Others were talking on phones, their faces tight with worry. A man in an expensive suit, Marcus recognized him from the company website as the CEO, James Roberts, strode through the lobby, gesturing angrily at the people around him. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Marcus watched as more employees poured into the lobby from the elevators and stairwells. Everyone looked panicked. A woman was nearly in tears. 2 men in IT uniforms were shouting at each other. Then Marcus saw something that made him sit up straighter. The consultants. They started arriving in waves. Men and women carrying equipment cases, rolling servers on carts, clutching laptops. These weren't TechFlow employees. These were outside specialists, the kind of people companies called when they were in serious trouble. Marcus counted them as they entered. 10, 15, 20. Whatever had happened inside TechFlow Solutions, it was bad. His phone buzzed. A text from Emma's school. "Mr. Bennett, this is Mrs. Patterson. Emma fell during recess and scraped her knee. She's fine, we cleaned it and bandaged it, but she was asking for you. She's calm now and said she wants to wait until regular pickup time because she doesn't want to interrupt your important work meeting. Just wanted to let you know." Marcus's heart clenched. Even hurt and crying, Emma thought about him first. She didn't want to be a burden. She didn't want to interrupt his chance at a job. 7 years old, and she was already sacrificing her own needs for him. He texted back, "Thank you for letting me know. Tell her I'll pick her up at 3:30 as usual, and tell her Daddy loves her." He looked back at the building. The chaos inside had intensified. Through the windows, he could see CEO Roberts screaming at someone, a consultant from the look of it. The man's face was red with fury and desperation. Marcus knew that look. He'd seen it before, at Datatech, when their systems had crashed during a critical client presentation. He'd been the one to fix it then. A simple indexing error that everyone else had overlooked because they were looking for something complicated. His phone showed the time, 10:15 a.m. He had hours before he needed to pick up Emma. He should leave. He should go home and start applying for more jobs. He should forget about TechFlow Solutions and the people who had just rejected him. But something kept him in that parking lot. Something was pulling at his professional instincts, telling him that what was happening inside that building was exactly the kind of problem he knew how to solve. Marcus thought about Emma. He thought about the $2,847 in his savings account. He thought about the rent coming due in 2 weeks. And he thought about the people inside that building who had dismissed him as someone with external obligations. They didn't want him. But right now, whether they knew it or not, they might need him. Marcus leaned back in his seat and kept watching. The morning sun climbed higher in the sky. The parade of consultants continued. The crisis inside TechFlow Solutions showed no signs of resolution. And Marcus Bennett, the single father they'd rejected, sat in his old car and waited. Because sometimes the world has a way of giving you exactly the opportunity you need, right after it kicks you in the teeth. He just didn't know it yet. The minutes crawled by like hours. Marcus sat in his car, engine off, watching the chaos unfold through the glass walls of TechFlow Solutions. Every few minutes, another consultant team arrived. Black SUVs, white vans with tech company logos. People rushing in with equipment that probably cost more than his yearly salary used to be. His phone buzzed. Another email. He didn't want to look. He knew what it would say. But his thumb moved anyway, opening the notification. Dear Mr. Bennett, thank you for your application to Sterling Data Systems. After reviewing your qualifications, we have decided to pursue other candidates whose experience more closely aligns with our current needs. Rejection number 16. Marcus let out a breath that felt like it had been trapped in his chest for months. 16 companies. 16 different ways of saying the same thing. You're not what we're looking for. You don't fit. You have a daughter, and that makes you a risk we're not willing to take. He deleted the email and looked back at the building. The CEO, Roberts, was visible through the lobby windows, pacing back and forth like a caged animal. Even from this distance, Marcus could see the man's face was crimson with rage. He was shouting at someone, pointing at computer screens, throwing his hands up in frustration. Marcus knew that kind of panic. He'd seen it at DataTech 5 years ago, when their entire customer database had gone down during the busiest week of the year. The company had lost $200,000 in just 2 days before Marcus had figured out the problem. A corrupted index table that was creating a cascade failure throughout the connected systems. Everyone had been looking for something complicated. A hack, a virus, a hardware failure. Nobody had thought to check the simple things. Marcus had checked. He'd found it in 45 minutes. The memory stirred something in him now. A professional itch. The kind of instinct that had made him good at his job for 8 years. Whatever was happening inside TechFlow, it looked like the same kind of chaos. The same kind of panic that came when smart people couldn't find an answer. His phone rang. Mrs. Rodriguez. Marcus, how are you doing? Emma wanted me to call and check on you. Marcus rubbed his eyes. I'm okay, Mrs. Rodriguez. The interview didn't go well, but I'm okay. Emma said you'd say that. She also said to tell you that she knows you'll find the right job because, and I'm quoting her exactly, Daddy is the smartest person in the whole world, and they're all dumb if they don't hire him. Despite everything, Marcus laughed. It was a tired sound, but genuine. That's my girl. She's something special, Marcus. You've raised her right. She raised herself, mostly. I just try to keep up. Don't sell yourself short. That child believes in you completely. Whatever happens, don't forget that. After hanging up, Marcus stared at his phone's wallpaper. A photo of Emma from last summer, grinning at the camera with a gap-toothed smile, holding up a drawing she'd made of the two of them. In the picture, she'd drawn Marcus in a cape, like a superhero. He didn't feel like a superhero right now. He felt like a failure. A news van pulled into the parking lot across the street. Marcus watched as a reporter and cameraman got out and started setting up their equipment, pointing toward the TechFlow building. This was bigger than he'd thought. Whatever crisis was happening inside, it was now becoming public. Through the lobby windows, Marcus could see at least 6 different consultant teams now. They'd set up multiple workstations, and cables ran across the floor like black snakes. People in suits were gathered in clusters, arguing, pointing at screens, shaking their heads. Nobody looked like they had an answer. Marcus checked his watch. 11:45 a.m. He'd been sitting here for almost 2 hours, watching strangers struggle with a problem that wasn't his. Why was he still here? He asked himself that question, but he already knew the answer. Because somewhere in the back of his mind, a voice was whispering that he could help. That he might see something these expensive consultants were missing. That his 8 years of experience, all those late nights fixing systems, all those problems he'd solved when everyone else had given up, it might actually mean something. But that was ridiculous. They didn't want him. They'd made that clear. He was just an unemployed single father with external obligations. He didn't belong in that building. Marcus started the car. He was going to leave. He was going to go home, check on more job listings, maybe make some lunch before picking up Emma. He was going to move on and forget about TechFlow Solutions and the people who had looked at him like he was less than nothing. His hand was on the gear shift when his phone rang again. Emma's school. "Mr. Bennett, this is Mrs. Patterson again." Marcus's heart jumped. "Is Emma okay? Did something else happen?" She's fine. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to worry you. She just wanted me to call and ask you something." "What is it?" "She wants to know if you found a job today. She said she's been thinking about you all morning, and she's been praying that the people at your meeting would be nice to you." Marcus closed his eyes. Praying. His 7-year-old daughter had been praying for him. "Tell her," his voice caught. He cleared his throat. "Tell her I'm still working on it. Tell her Daddy loves her, and I'll see her at 3:30. "I will. And Mr. Bennett, whatever happened today, don't give up. Emma talks about you all the time. You're her hero." After hanging up, Marcus sat motionless in the driver's seat. His hero. That's what Emma thought he was, her hero. But heroes didn't sit in parking lots feeling sorry for themselves. Heroes didn't give up after 16 rejections. Heroes didn't let their daughters down. Marcus turned off the engine. He looked back at the building, at the chaos still unfolding inside. Something was wrong in there. Something that dozens of consultants and who knows how many experts couldn't figure out. Something that was costing this company money and reputation, and probably jobs. Marcus thought about Ms. Davis and her polite smile and her nothing personal. He thought about Mr. Johnson asking about overtime as if having a daughter was a disease. He thought about Ms. Chen saying they needed someone fully committed. They didn't want him. But right now, they needed someone who could actually fix their problem. And from the look of things, nobody inside that building could. Marcus got out of the car. He wasn't sure what he was doing. He wasn't sure if this was brave or stupid or something in between. All he knew was that sitting in his car feeling rejected wasn't going to pay the rent or buy Emma new shoes or prove to anyone, including himself, that he was worth something. He walked toward the building. The automatic doors slid open, and the chaos hit him like a wave. Voices everywhere, people shouting, phones ringing, the smell of coffee and stress and fear. Marcus pushed through the crowd toward the security desk. The guard was overwhelmed, trying to check credentials for the constant stream of consultants and IT specialists arriving. "Excuse me," Marcus said. "I need to speak with someone about the technical problem." The guard barely looked up. "Are you with one of the consultant teams?" "No, but I have experience with this type of system failure. I might be able to help." "Sorry, sir. Only authorized personnel during the emergency. Could you please call Mr. Roberts? Tell him Tom Wilson is here." Marcus caught himself. "Tell him Marcus Bennett is here. Tell him I believe I can solve the problem." The guard shook his head. "Mr. Roberts isn't taking calls from anyone who isn't directly involved in fixing this. You'll have to leave, sir." Marcus didn't leave. He stepped aside but stayed in the lobby, observing, listening, picking up fragments of conversations. Corrupted files everywhere. Backup systems aren't responding. Tried rebooting the main servers 3 times, losing approximately $50,000 per hour. Investor presentation in less than 2 hours. Marcus felt his professional instincts kick into high gear. He'd heard these same symptoms before. Corrupted files, unresponsive backups, cascade failures. It sounded exactly like what had happened at Datatech. The question was whether anyone here had thought to check the obvious. From the looks of things, they hadn't. 15 minutes passed, then 30. Marcus watched the consultants work, watched them try increasingly complicated solutions, watched their confidence erode with each failed attempt. He was about to give up and leave when the elevator doors opened and CEO Roberts stormed out. The man looked like he hadn't slept in days, even though the crisis had only been going on for a few hours. His expensive suit was rumpled, his tie was loosened. His face was a mask of fury and desperation. "This is completely unacceptable," Roberts shouted at a group of consultants following behind him. "I've been paying your firm $10,000 per hour, and you're no closer to solving this than when you started." "Sir, we're doing everything possible," one of the consultants replied. "This is an extremely complex failure involving multiple interconnected—" "I don't want to hear about complexity. I want results. Our biggest investor presentation is in 90 minutes. If we can't access our client database, we lose a $50 million contract. Do you understand? $50 million. The consultants exchanged nervous glances. Roberts turned to another group. "And what about you? What's your status?" "We're still running diagnostics, sir. The system keeps rejecting our repair attempts. Every time we think we've isolated the problem, it spreads to another sector." "Then isolate it faster." Marcus stepped forward. He didn't plan to. His body just moved, like something was pushing him from inside. "Excuse me, Mr. Roberts." Roberts spun around, his face contorted with irritation. "Who the hell are you? How did you get past security?" "My name is Marcus Bennett. I was interviewed here this morning for the software engineer position." Recognition flickered in Roberts' eyes. He turned to look at the crowd, and Ms. Davis emerged, looking uncomfortable. "Sir, this is the candidate we decided not to hire," she said quietly. "The single father," Johnson added, appearing beside her. "The one with the external obligations." Roberts stared at Marcus. "You were rejected this morning and you're still here? What do you want?" Marcus met his gaze directly. "I believe I can fix your system problem." Silence. Then one of the consultants laughed. "Sir, we have 6 specialized teams working on this crisis. We've brought in some of the best technical experts in the region. With all due respect, if we can't solve it, I doubt a rejected job candidate can." "I've seen this type of failure before," Marcus said, ignoring the consultant. "At my previous company, Datatech Systems. The symptoms you're describing, corrupted files, unresponsive backups, cascade failures. I've encountered all of them, and I know what causes them." Roberts narrowed his eyes. "Datatech Systems. I've heard of them. They were acquired by Meridian, right?" "Yes, sir. I worked there for 8 years as a senior software engineer." "And you think you can fix in a few minutes what these experts can't fix in 4 hours?" Marcus nodded. "Give me 5 minutes at a terminal connected to your main server. If I can't at least identify the problem, I'll leave and you'll never see me again." "Sir, I strongly advise against this," Ms. Davis interjected. "Mr. Bennett doesn't have security clearance. If he accesses our systems and causes additional damage—" "If he causes additional damage," Roberts cut her off. "Ms. Davis, our systems are already completely non-functional. Our entire client database is inaccessible. We're hemorrhaging money every second. How exactly could he make it worse?" Ms. Davis opened her mouth, then closed it. Roberts turned back to Marcus. 5 minutes. But if you're wasting my time, I'll have security escort you out personally." "Understood." Roberts gestured to one of the IT staff. "Set him up at a workstation. Full server access." "Sir, our security protocols—" "Did I stutter? Full access. Now." Marcus followed the IT technician to a workstation that had been set up in a corner of the lobby. Multiple monitors displayed error messages and diagnostic screens, all showing the same thing. System failure, system failure, system failure. Marcus sat down. He could feel everyone watching him, the consultants, the executives, Ms. Davis with her disapproving frown, Mr. Johnson with his skeptical sneer, Roberts standing behind him, radiating desperation and impatience. Marcus placed his fingers on the keyboard. For a moment, nothing happened. Then muscle memory took over. 8 years of experience flowed through his hands as he began navigating the system architecture, pulling up screens, checking directories, examining error logs. "What are you doing?" one of the consultants demanded. "We already checked the error logs. There's nothing useful there." Marcus didn't answer. He kept typing. "Sir, this is a waste of time," another consultant said. "We should be focusing on our rebuild protocol. It's the only way to—" "Everyone shut up," Roberts snapped. "Let him work." Marcus found the database management system and started drilling down through the file structure. He'd seen this pattern before. He knew what he was looking for. The primary customer index table was corrupted. He could see that immediately. But that wasn't the root cause. That was just a symptom. He kept digging, and then he found it. The backup validation files. 3 small files that controlled how the system verified and restored backup data. They were corrupted, not visibly, not in a way that would show up on standard diagnostics, but corrupted nonetheless. The system was trying to rebuild the damaged index table, using backup files that had already been compromised. Every rebuild attempt was feeding corrupted data back into the corrupted system, creating an infinite loop of failure. Marcus sat back. "There," he said, pointing at the screen. "That's your problem." Roberts leaned in. "What am I looking at? Your primary customer index table is corrupted, but the real issue is these 3 backup validation files. They're also corrupted, but the system doesn't know it. So every time your automated recovery tries to fix the index table, it's pulling corrupted data from the backups and making the problem worse. It's like trying to fix a wound with an infected bandage." "We checked the backups," the lead consultant protested. "They were clean." "You checked the main backup files. You didn't check the validation files that tell the system which backups to use." Marcus looked at the consultant. "The system isn't using your clean backups because these corrupted validators keep redirecting it to the damaged ones." Roberts turned to his IT staff. "Is that possible?" The head technician was already checking. His face went pale. "He's right. The validation files, they're corrupted. I don't know how we missed this." "Because you were looking for something complicated," Marcus said. "You expected a big problem to have a big cause. But sometimes the simplest explanation is the correct one." Roberts grabbed Marcus's shoulder. "Can you fix it?" Marcus nodded. "I need to stop the automated rebuild process, manually delete the corrupted validation files, and force the system to create new ones from the master archive. Then the recovery can proceed normally." "How long?" 2 minutes, maybe 3. Roberts looked at the clock on the wall. The investor presentation was in 75 minutes. "Do it." Marcus turned back to the keyboard. His fingers flew across the keys. First, he terminated the automated rebuild process. Then, he navigated to the validation file directory and deleted the 3 corrupted files. Finally, he accessed the master archive and initiated a forced revalidation sequence. He typed the final command and pressed Enter. The room held its breath. For 10 seconds, nothing happened. Then, one by one, the error messages on the screens began to disappear. Red status indicators turned yellow, then green. The hum of systems coming back online filled the air. "The customer database is accessible," someone shouted from across the lobby. "Email servers are back up. All systems operational." The room erupted. People were cheering, clapping. Some were even hugging each other. The crisis that had paralyzed the company for 4 hours was over. Marcus pushed back from the workstation and stood up. Roberts was staring at him like he'd just witnessed a miracle. "How?" Roberts asked. "How did you see that when none of them could?" Marcus shrugged. "I've been doing this for 8 years. You learn to look for the simple answers first. Most people don't." Roberts turned to the lead consultant. "You're fired. Pack your equipment and send me your bill for the 4 hours you wasted. Then get out of my building." "Sir, we were following standard diagnostic protocols." "Get out." The consultant gathered his team and left without another word. Roberts turned back to Marcus, and his entire demeanor had changed. The anger was gone. The desperation was gone. In their place was something that looked almost like awe. "Mr. Bennett," Roberts said, "we need to talk." Roberts didn't wait for Marcus to respond. He grabbed Marcus by the arm and started walking toward the elevators, leaving the celebrating employees and the humiliated consultants behind. "My office. Now." Marcus followed, his mind still processing what had just happened. 3 minutes ago, he'd been a rejected job candidate sitting in an old car. Now, the CEO of TechFlow Solutions was personally escorting him through the building. Ms. Davis hurried to catch up. "Mr. Roberts, I really think we should discuss this before—" "Not now, Ms. Davis." "But sir, the security protocols alone." Roberts stopped walking and turned to face her. His expression could have frozen water. "Ms. Davis, this man just saved our company from losing a $50 million contract. He did in 3 minutes what your carefully vetted consultants couldn't do in 4 hours. So unless you have something useful to contribute, I suggest you go back to your office and start reconsidering your hiring criteria." Ms. Davis's face went red. She opened her mouth, closed it, then turned and walked away without another word. Roberts continued toward the elevators. Marcus followed. They rode up to the top floor in silence. Marcus could feel Roberts studying him, evaluating him, trying to figure out how a rejected job candidate had just performed a miracle in his lobby. The elevator doors opened onto an executive floor that looked like something out of a magazine. But Marcus barely noticed. His attention was fixed on Roberts, on the conversation that was about to happen. Roberts led him into a corner office and closed the door. "Sit." Marcus sat in one of the leather chairs facing the massive desk. Roberts didn't sit. He paced. "I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to answer honestly," Roberts said. "Why did you come back?" Marcus considered the question. "I watched from the parking lot. I saw the consultants arriving. I recognized the signs of a major system failure, and I knew, or at least I suspected, that I might be able to help. But we rejected you. 3 hours ago, my hiring team told you that you weren't suitable for this company. Most people would have driven away and never looked back. Most people don't have a 7-year-old daughter who needs new shoes and a rent payment due in 2 weeks." Robert stopped pacing. "Your daughter. That's why they rejected you, isn't it?" Marcus met his eyes. "Miss Davis said you needed someone fully committed, someone without external obligations. I believe those were her exact words. And what did you say?" "I said that being a parent made me more committed, not less. That having someone depend on me gave me motivation that people without children might not have." Roberts was quiet for a long moment. "I built this company from nothing," he finally said. 22 years ago, I started in a garage with 1 computer and a credit card with a $5,000 limit. I worked 18-hour days. I missed birthdays, holidays, family dinners. I told myself it was worth it, that I was building something for my kids." He walked to the window and stared out at the city. My son is 31 years old. I haven't spoken to him in 3 years. My daughter just had her second child, my second grandchild, and she didn't even tell me until a month after the baby was born. They don't want me at Thanksgiving. They don't call on Father's Day. Roberts turned back to face Marcus. I sacrificed my family for this company. I told myself that being fully committed was the only way to succeed. And now I have a company worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and I eat dinner alone every night. Marcus didn't know what to say. This wasn't what he'd expected. Your hiring manager rejected you because you have a daughter, Roberts continued. She thought that made you less valuable. But watching what you did down there today, I realized something. You didn't just fix our system. You risked humiliation. You walked back into a building that had just rejected you, knowing you might be laughed at or thrown out. You did that because your daughter needed you to be brave. Robert sat down in the chair next to Marcus, not behind his desk, but beside him. That kind of motivation, that kind of courage, you can't train that. You can't buy it. And apparently, you can't find it in expensive consultants with fancy equipment. Marcus felt something shift in the room. The dynamic had changed. This wasn't an interview anymore. This was something else entirely. I'm going to ask you again, Robert said. What do you want? I want a job, Marcus said simply. I want to be able to provide for my daughter. I want to stop worrying about whether I can pay the rent next month. I want Emma to know that her father isn't a failure. Emma, that's her name? Yes. Tell me about her. Marcus pulled out his phone and showed Roberts the wallpaper photo. Emma, with her gap-toothed grin, holding up her drawing of Marcus in a superhero cape. She's 7. She's in 2nd grade at Green Valley Elementary. Her teacher says she's too smart for her own good. She draws pictures constantly, mostly of the two of us. She made me a good luck card for my interview today. Marcus's voice caught slightly. She scraped her knee at recess this morning and told the school nurse she didn't want to call me because she didn't want to interrupt my important work meeting. Roberts looked at the photo for a long time. Her mother? Left when Emma was 2. Just walked out one day and never came back. No note, no explanation. I came home from work and found Emma alone in her crib, crying. Sarah's clothes were gone. Her car was gone. She just vanished. You raised her by yourself? For 5 years? There was no other option. Emma needed a parent, and I was the only one left. Roberts handed the phone back. His expression had changed completely from what it had been in the lobby. The hard-driving CEO was gone. In his place was something more human. I have an offer for you, Roberts said. But first, I need to tell you something about what happened this morning. Okay? The position you interviewed for, the software engineer role, it pays $62,000 a year. That's what Ms. Davis was authorized to offer. But after what you did today, that position is no longer available to you. Marcus felt his stomach drop. After everything, he was still being rejected. Robert saw his expression and held up a hand. Let me finish. That position is no longer available because I'm creating a new one. Senior Systems Architect. You would report directly to our CTO, with a dotted line to me. Your primary responsibility would be crisis management and system optimization. Marcus blinked. Senior Systems Architect? The salary is $95,000 per year. Full benefits package, including health, dental, and vision insurance for you and your daughter. 4 weeks paid vacation. And, this is non-negotiable, flexible working hours, so you can be there for Emma when she needs you. Marcus couldn't speak. He literally could not form words. There's also a signing bonus, Roberts continued. $15,000, payable immediately upon acceptance. I understand you have some pressing financial needs. Mr. Roberts, I can't. There's one more thing. Robert stood and walked to his desk, where he picked up a phone and pressed a button. Send her in. The office door opened, and Ms. Davis walked in. Her face was pale, her expression tight. Ms. Davis, Robert said, I'd like you to personally apologize to Mr. Bennett for the way he was treated in his interview this morning. Ms. Davis looked like she'd swallowed something sour. Sir, I don't think... That wasn't a request. The silence stretched for several seconds. Marcus watched Ms. Davis struggle with herself, watched the battle between her pride and her fear of losing her own job. Finally, she turned to Marcus. Mr. Bennett, I apologize for any comments that may have been inappropriate during your interview. That's not an apology, Robert said. Try again. Ms. Davis's jaw tightened. I apologize for suggesting that your role as a father made you unsuitable for employment. It was wrong of me to assume that your family obligations would affect your professional capabilities. And, Roberts prompted, and I was clearly mistaken about your value to this company. Roberts nodded. Thank you, Ms. Davis. You can go. And I want the hiring policies for this company reviewed by end of week. Any language that discriminates against parents, caregivers, or anyone with external obligations needs to be removed. Am I clear? Yes, sir. Ms. Davis left without looking at Marcus again. When the door closed, Roberts turned back to him. I'm sorry you had to experience that, but I wanted you to see that things are going to change around here. What happened to you this morning will not happen to anyone else. Marcus finally found his voice. Why are you doing this? You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. Robert sat back down, this time behind his desk. Do you know what I saw when you walked up to me in that lobby? A man who had every reason to walk away, but chose to stay. A man who could have watched us fail and felt satisfied because we deserved it. But instead, you helped us. I needed a job. No. You could have gone home and applied to other companies. You could have told yourself it wasn't your problem. But you didn't. You stayed because somewhere in you, there's an instinct to fix things, to help, even when you've been treated badly. Roberts leaned forward. That's rare, Mr. Bennett. That's the kind of person I want building my company. Marcus looked down at his hands. They weren't shaking anymore. Can I ask you something? He said. Anything. You said you haven't spoken to your son in 3 years. What happened? Roberts was quiet for a moment. I missed his wedding. I was in Singapore closing a deal. I told myself the deal was worth $200 million, and the wedding was just one day. He could have another wedding if he wanted. He couldn't get back that deal. Did you get the deal? Yes. And I lost my son. Roberts's voice was heavy with old regret. He told me I had made my choice, that the company would always come first, that he didn't want his children to grow up thinking their grandfather valued money more than family. Was he wrong? At the time, I thought so. Now? Robert shook his head slowly. Now I sit in this office, surrounded by awards and quarterly reports, and I wonder what my grandchildren look like. I wonder if my son is happy. I wonder if I would make different choices if I could go back. Marcus thought about Emma, about all the times he'd chosen to be present instead of advancing his career, about all the promotions he'd probably missed because he left at 5 o'clock to pick her up from school. He'd never regretted those choices, not once. Your daughter is lucky, Robert said, as if reading his thoughts. She has a father who understands what matters. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. Then let me help you take care of her. Robert stood and extended his hand. Do we have a deal? Marcus rose and shook his hand. We have a deal. Good. I'll have HR process your paperwork this afternoon. Your signing bonus will be direct deposited within 48 hours. You can start Monday, but if you need more time to arrange childcare or anything else, we can push it back. Monday is fine. Monday is perfect. Robert smiled for the first time since Marcus had met him. It changed his whole face, made him look younger, less burdened. One more thing, Robert said. I want you to bring Emma by the office sometime. I'd like to meet the little girl who inspired her father to walk back into a building full of people who just rejected him. Marcus thought about Emma's drawing, the one where he wore a superhero cape. Maybe, just maybe, he'd actually earned it today. His phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Rodriguez. Emma wants to know if you're okay. She says she has a feeling something good happened. Marcus typed back. Tell her she's right. Tell her Daddy found the best job in the world. And tell her we're going shopping for art supplies tonight. The response came immediately. She's jumping up and down. She says she knew it all along. She says you're her hero. Marcus looked at Roberts, who was watching him with an expression that might have been envy, might have been admiration, might have been both. I need to pick up my daughter from school, Marcus said. Go. Family first. That's how it should be. Roberts walked him to the door. And Marcus? Thank you. Not just for fixing the system. Thank you for reminding me what I forgot a long time ago. Marcus nodded. There was nothing else to say. He walked back through the building, past the employees who had watched him solve the crisis, past the consultants who were still packing up their equipment in the lobby. Some of them looked at him with curiosity, others with something like respect. Miss Davis was standing near the security desk. She saw Marcus and looked away quickly, unable to meet his eyes. Marcus didn't stop. He didn't gloat. He didn't say anything. He just walked out the door into the afternoon sunlight, toward his old car that didn't look quite so shabby anymore. In 3 hours, his entire life had changed. He'd walked into this building a desperate man with nothing left to lose. He was walking out with a salary he'd never dreamed of, benefits that would keep Emma healthy, and a future that finally looked bright. But more than that, he was walking out with something he'd almost lost. Hope. He got in his car and drove toward Green Valley Elementary, toward the little girl who had been praying for him all day, who believed he was a hero, even when he didn't believe in himself. He couldn't wait to tell her that sometimes, when you're brave enough to try one more time, miracles actually happen. Marcus pulled into the parking lot of Green Valley Elementary at exactly 3:25, 5 minutes early. For the first time in months, he wasn't rushing. He wasn't stressed about being late because of a job interview that ran long, or a meeting that wouldn't end. He was just a father, waiting to pick up his daughter. He turned off the engine and sat for a moment, letting everything sink in. $95,000 a year. Health insurance. A signing bonus that would cover 3 months of rent. A job where the CEO himself had told him that family comes first. It didn't feel real. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Mr. Bennett, this is James Roberts. I wanted to let you know that your paperwork is being processed as we speak. HR will email you the offer letter within the hour. Welcome to TechFlow Solutions, and give Emma a hug for me. Marcus stared at the message. The CEO of a company worth hundreds of millions of dollars had personally texted him, had asked him to hug his daughter. The world had turned upside down. The school bell rang, and children started pouring out of the building. Marcus got out of his car and walked toward the pickup area, scanning the crowd for Emma's face. He spotted her almost immediately. She was limping slightly, the scraped knee from recess, but her face lit up like a sunrise when she saw him. She broke away from her teacher and ran toward him as fast as her injured leg would allow. "Daddy!" Marcus dropped to one knee and caught her in his arms, lifting her off the ground and holding her tight. "Hey, sweetheart, I missed you." "I missed you too, Daddy." She pulled back to look at his face, her small hands on his cheeks. "Mrs. Rodriguez said something good happened. Did you get a job?" Marcus smiled. "I got a job." Emma's shriek of joy was so loud that several other parents turned to look. She threw her arms around his neck and squeezed with all her 7-year-old strength. "I knew it! I knew it! I prayed so hard, Daddy. I prayed at recess, and I prayed at lunch, and I prayed during math, even though Mrs. Patterson says we're not supposed to do other things during math." Marcus laughed, feeling tears prick at his eyes. "Well, your prayers worked, baby girl. They definitely worked." "Tell me everything. Tell me about your new job. Is it a good job? Are the people nice? Do you have an office?" "I'll tell you all about it. But first, how's your knee?" Emma looked down at the bandage visible below her shorts. "It's okay. It only hurts a little. The nurse gave me a lollipop." "A lollipop, huh? What flavor?" "Grape, but I saved it for you, because I know grape is your favorite." She dug into her pocket and pulled out a slightly squished lollipop, offering it to him with complete seriousness. Marcus took it, his heart so full, it actually hurt. "Thank you, Emma. That's the best present anyone's ever given me." "Better than $1 million?" "Better than $1 billion." Emma giggled and took his hand as they walked toward the car. "Daddy, can we get ice cream? To celebrate?" "We can definitely get ice cream. And you know what else?" "What?" "We're going to buy those art supplies you need for your project." Emma stopped walking and looked up at him with wide eyes. "Really? The colored pencils and the poster board and the glitter glue?" "All of it. Whatever you need." "But Daddy, you said the colored pencils were too expensive. You said maybe we could borrow some from—" "That was before." Marcus knelt down again, so he was eye level with her. "Emma, I need to tell you something. The job I got today, it's a really good job. A really, really good job. We're going to be okay now. More than okay." Emma studied his face with that serious expression she sometimes got, the one that made her look much older than 7. "You were scared before, weren't you, Daddy?" The question caught him off guard. "What do you mean?" "I heard you talking on the phone sometimes, late at night when you thought I was sleeping. You sounded scared and sad." She reached out and touched his cheek. "You don't have to be scared anymore?" Marcus pulled her into another hug, this one longer, tighter. "No, baby, I don't have to be scared anymore." They drove to the craft store first. Emma practically bounced in her seat the whole way, chattering about her project, a presentation about her family for class. "I'm going to draw you and me and our apartment," she said. "And I'm going to use the gold glitter for the sun, because you always say I'm your sunshine. And I'm going to write about how you're the best daddy in the whole world." "What about the other kids? What are they doing for their projects?" "Timmy is doing his whole family. He has a mom and a dad and 2 brothers and a dog. And Sophia is doing her grandparents because they live in Italy and she's never met them, but her mom shows her pictures." "That sounds nice." "Some kids ask me why I only have a daddy. I told them because my daddy is so good at being a daddy that I don't need anyone else." Marcus gripped the steering wheel tighter, overwhelmed by a surge of emotion. "Emma, you know it's okay if you ever want to talk about your mom, right? If you have questions or if you're curious." "I know, Daddy." Emma's voice was matter-of-fact. But I don't really think about her much. She left. You stayed. That's all that matters." For a 7-year-old, she had a wisdom that sometimes took his breath away. They arrived at the craft store, and Emma grabbed a basket, immediately heading for the colored pencil aisle. Marcus followed, watching her examine each pack with intense concentration. "These ones have 48 colors," she said, holding up a box. "But these ones only have 24, but they come with a sharpener." "Which ones do you want?" "The 48 colors, but they're more expensive." She looked at the price tag, then back at him. "Maybe the 24 is enough?" "Emma." Marcus took the 48 pack from her hands and put it in the basket. "Get whatever you need, whatever you want." She looked at him like he'd just told her Christmas was coming early. They spent an hour in the store. Emma chose poster boards in 3 different colors, the fancy colored pencils, markers, glitter glue in 6 shades, stickers, and a pack of metallic paper for special accents. Marcus didn't look at the total when they checked out. He just handed over his card. It was the first time in 6 months that he hadn't calculated every purchase down to the penny. Next, they went to the shoe store. Emma's sneakers were practically falling apart, the soles worn thin, the toes scuffed and peeling. "Can I get the ones with the lights?" Emma asked, pointing to a pair of pink sneakers with LED lights in the soles. "Try them on." She did, then jumped and stomped around the aisle, watching the lights flash with each step. Her laughter filled the store. "They fit perfect, Daddy! And look, the lights are pink and purple!" Marcus bought them without hesitation. Finally, they went for ice cream. Emma ordered a sundae with 3 scoops, hot fudge, whipped cream, and sprinkles. Marcus got a simple vanilla cone and watched his daughter devour her creation with pure joy. "Daddy?" "Yes, sweetheart?" "This is the best day ever." Marcus reached across the table and wiped a smear of chocolate from her chin. "It's pretty high up there for me, too." "Tell me about your new job. What do you have to do?" "Well, I'm going to help fix computers when they break, and I'm going to make sure all the systems work together properly. And if something goes wrong, I'm going to figure out how to make it right." "Like a superhero?" Marcus thought about the chaos in the TechFlow lobby, the panic, the desperation, and how everything had changed in 3 minutes. "Kind of like a superhero, yeah." "I knew it. I told Mrs. Patterson that you're a superhero. She said all daddies are superheroes to their kids. But I told her no, my daddy is a real superhero." "What did she say to that?" She smiled. The nice kind of smile, not the pretend kind. Emma scooped up another bite of ice cream. "Daddy, do you like the people at your new job?" Marcus thought about Roberts, sitting next to him instead of behind the desk, telling him about his estranged children. He thought about Ms. Davis being forced to apologize. He thought about the look on everyone's faces when the systems came back online. "I think I'm going to like them," he said. "The boss seems like a good person." "That's important. Mrs. Patterson says you spend more time at work than anywhere else, so you should work with nice people." "Mrs. Patterson is a smart lady. She's my favorite teacher ever. She gives me extra books to read because she says I'm already too advanced for the regular ones." Emma paused, ice cream dripping from her spoon. "Daddy, are we going to have to move?" "Move? Why would we move?" "Timmy's dad got a new job, and they moved to Arizona. Timmy was really sad because he had to leave all his friends." Marcus shook his head. "We're not moving, Emma. The new job is right here in town. You're staying at your school, keeping all your friends. Everything stays the same." "Promise?" "I promise." Emma grinned and went back to her sundae. "Good, because I really like our apartment, even if it's small. It's cozy." Their apartment. The one bedroom they shared, where Emma slept on a twin bed in the corner and Marcus slept on a pull-out couch. The one with the leaky faucet and the radiator that clanked all winter. the one Marcus had been terrified of losing. Maybe now, with this new salary, they could move somewhere bigger. Somewhere Emma could have her own room. Somewhere with a yard, maybe, where she could play outside. But that conversation was for another day. Right now, he just wanted to enjoy this moment. "You know what I think we should do tonight?" Marcus said. "What?" "I think we should go home. You can start working on your project with all your new supplies, and I'll make us spaghetti for dinner." "With meatballs?" "With meatballs."
"And garlic bread?"
"And garlic bread." Emma's face was pure happiness.
"Daddy, you're the best daddy in the whole entire universe."
"And you're the best Emma in the whole entire universe." She reached across the table and grabbed his hand, her small fingers sticky with ice cream.
"I love you, Daddy."
"I love you too, sweetheart. More than anything." They finished their ice cream and drove home. Emma chattered the whole way about her project, about school, about her friend Sophia, who was teaching her Spanish words, about everything and nothing. Marcus listened to every word, soaking it in. He thought about that morning, standing in the parking lot of TechFlow Solutions, hands shaking, stomach churning with anxiety and fear. He thought about walking into that interview with hope and walking out with nothing but another rejection. He thought about watching the chaos unfold through the glass windows, about the voice in his head telling him to just drive away, to forget about people who didn't want him. And he thought about getting out of the car anyway, walking back into that building, risking humiliation, because his daughter needed him to be brave. Everything had changed because of that one decision. When they got home, Mrs. Rodriguez was waiting on the front steps of their building.
"There they are,"
she called out, rising to greet them.
"The man of the hour and his beautiful girl."
Emma ran to her and immediately started showing off her new light-up shoes.
"Look, Mrs. Rodriguez, they flash when I walk. Daddy bought them for me because he got the best job ever."
"I know, sweetheart. Your daddy told me the good news." Mrs. Rodriguez looked at Marcus with warm eyes. "I'm so happy for you, Marcus. You deserve this." "Thank you for everything," Marcus said. "For watching Emma this morning, for everything over these past 6 months. I couldn't have gotten through it without you."
"Nonsense. That's what neighbors are for."
She patted his arm. "You're a good man, Marcus. I always knew things would work out for you. I just knew it."
"Mrs. Rodriguez, do you want to see my new art supplies?"
Emma asked.
"I got 48 colored pencils."
"I would love to see them, but I think your daddy has plans for you tonight. Maybe tomorrow you can show me."
"Okay, I'll bring my whole project when it's done."
They said goodbye and headed upstairs. Emma immediately spread all her new supplies on the kitchen table and got to work on her project, her tongue sticking out slightly in concentration the way it always did when she was focused. Marcus started making dinner, moving around the small kitchen, listening to Emma hum as she worked. His phone buzzed. An email notification. He opened it and saw the official offer letter from TechFlow Solutions. $95,000 annual salary, full benefits, signing bonus of $15,000, all exactly as Roberts had promised. At the bottom of the email was a personal note. "Marcus, I meant what I said. Family first, always. I look forward to working with you, James." Marcus read the note 3 times, still unable to fully believe this was real.
"Daddy, what does perseverance mean?"
He looked up from his phone. "Perseverance? It means keeping going even when things are hard. Not giving up."
"That's what I thought."
Emma went back to her work, writing something on her poster board. Marcus walked over to see what she was doing. In big, colorful letters at the top of the board, Emma had written, "My hero, my daddy." Below it, she was drawing a picture of the two of them. Marcus was wearing a cape and holding her hand. Above the drawing, she was adding words in her careful second-grade handwriting.
"My daddy has perseverance," she had written. "He never gives up, even when people are mean to him. He keeps trying because he loves me."
Marcus felt tears spill down his cheeks before he could stop them. Emma looked up and saw him crying. Her face immediately crumpled with worry.
"Daddy, why are you sad?"
He knelt down beside her and pulled her into a hug. "I'm not sad, Emma. I'm happy. These are happy tears."
"Happy tears? That doesn't make sense."
"Sometimes, when you feel so much happiness that your heart can't hold it all, it comes out through your eyes." Emma considered this.
"So I made you so happy you cried?"
"You make me so happy every single day, but especially today." She hugged him back, her small arms around his neck.
"I'm going to finish my project now," she said after a moment. "And it's going to be the best project in the whole class, because I have the best daddy to write about."
Marcus stood up and wiped his eyes. "I'm going to finish making dinner now, and it's going to be the best spaghetti you've ever had, because I have the best daughter to cook for." Emma giggled and went back to her poster. Marcus returned to the kitchen, stirring the sauce, his heart fuller than it had been in years. The apartment was small, the furniture was old. The future was still uncertain in 100 small ways. But right now, in this moment, everything was exactly right. His daughter was safe. His bills would be paid. He had a job with people who respected him. And most importantly, he had learned something today that he would never forget. Sometimes, the worst rejections lead to the best opportunities. Sometimes the people who dismiss you become the people who need you most. And sometimes, the only thing standing between failure and success is the courage to try one more time. Marcus watched Emma work on her project, her new colored pencils spread around her like a rainbow, her face glowing with concentration and joy. This morning, he'd been a desperate man with nothing left to lose. Tonight, he was exactly what his daughter had always believed him to be: a hero. Monday morning arrived faster than Marcus expected. He woke up at 5:30, a full 2 hours before he needed to leave. His body had forgotten how to sleep past dawn after 6 months of anxiety-fueled insomnia. But this time, when he opened his eyes, the weight on his chest wasn't there. For the first time in 6 months, he woke up with somewhere to go. Emma was still asleep in her corner of the room, curled up under her butterfly blanket, her new light-up shoes placed carefully beside her bed. She'd insisted on keeping them close, as if they might disappear if she let them out of her sight. Marcus showered, shaved, and put on his best suit, the same suit he'd worn to 16 failed interviews, the same tie he'd adjusted nervously in parking lots and reception areas across the city. But today it felt different. Today he wasn't hoping for a chance. He already had one. He made breakfast quietly, trying not to wake Emma. Eggs, toast, orange juice. He set out her vitamins and poured a bowl of her favorite cereal so it would be ready when she got up. At 6:45, his phone buzzed. A text from Roberts. "Looking forward to seeing you today. HR will meet you in the lobby at 8:30 to get you settled. Welcome to the team, Marcus." Marcus read the message 3 times, still half expecting to wake up and discover the whole thing had been a dream. Emma stirred, yawning and stretching.
"Daddy, what time is it?"
"Early, sweetheart. Go back to sleep. Mrs. Rodriguez will be here soon to take you to school." Emma sat up, suddenly wide awake.
"Today's your first day at your new job."
"That's right." She scrambled out of bed and ran to him, throwing her arms around his waist.
"I'm so proud of you, Daddy."
Marcus felt his throat tighten. Those were his words, the words he said to her after every good grade, every school performance, every small victory. Hearing them reflected back at him from his 7-year-old daughter hit him harder than he expected. "Thank you, baby. That means everything to me."
Are you nervous?
"A little."
Don't be nervous.
"You're going to be great. You're the smartest person I know." She looked up at him with complete confidence.
And if anyone is mean to you, just remember that they're wrong and you're right.
Marcus laughed. "Is that your official advice?"
Yes, it's very good advice. Mrs. Patterson told us that believing in yourself is the most important thing.
Mrs. Patterson is a wise woman. Emma went to the kitchen table and picked up a folded piece of paper.
I made you something for your first day.
She handed it to him. Marcus unfolded it carefully. It was a drawing of him at a desk, surrounded by computers. Above his head, she'd written, "World's Best Daddy," in purple marker. In the corner, there was a small figure with brown hair, Emma, holding a sign that said, "I love you."
It's for your office, Emma explained, so you can look at it when you miss me.
Marcus pulled her into another hug. "I'm going to put it right on my desk, first thing."
Promise?
"Promise." Mrs. Rodriguez arrived at 7:15, carrying a container of homemade cookies. "For your first day," she said, pressing them into Marcus's hands. "Chocolate chip, for good luck, though I don't think you'll need it." "You didn't have to do this."
I know. I wanted to.
She smiled warmly. "You go show them what you're made of, Marcus. Emma and I will be fine." Marcus knelt down for one last hug from his daughter. "Have a good day at school, Emma. I'll pick you up at 3:30, just like always."
Okay, Daddy. Have a good day at your job. Save lots of computers.
"I'll do my best." He walked out the door, cookie container in one hand, Emma's drawing carefully tucked into his briefcase. The morning air was cool and crisp, the sun just beginning to warm the streets. Marcus got in his car and drove toward TechFlow Solutions. The building looked different in the morning light than it had on Friday. Less intimidating, more like a place where he actually belonged. He parked in the visitor lot. He'd get an employee parking pass today, and walked toward the entrance. His steps were steadier than they'd been 4 days ago. His hands weren't shaking. The lobby was calm, a stark contrast to the chaos he'd witnessed on Friday. Employees moved through the space at normal speeds, talking casually, carrying coffee cups. No one was running. No one was panicking. Marcus approached the reception desk. The same woman who had greeted him on Friday looked up with a smile, a genuine one this time.
Mr. Bennett, welcome back. HR is expecting you. Please have a seat and someone will be with you shortly.
Thank you. He sat in the same leather chair where he'd waited for his interview. The same magazines were on the coffee table. But everything felt different now. A few minutes later, a young man in the neat gray suit approached him. "Mr. Bennett, I'm David Chen from Human Resources. I'll be helping you get settled today." Marcus shook his hand.
Nice to meet you, David.
"Please, follow me. We have a lot to cover." The next 3 hours were a blur of paperwork, ID photos, building tours, and introductions. Marcus signed documents, received his employee badge, was assigned a parking spot, and given a laptop and phone. David walked him through the benefits package, the vacation policy, the company handbook. Through it all, Marcus kept thinking about Emma's drawing, still folded in his briefcase, waiting for his desk. Finally, David led him to the 4th floor. "This is the Systems Architecture Department," David explained. "Your office is at the end of the hall. Mr. Roberts requested that you have a window view." Marcus's office. His own office. With a window. At Datatech, he'd worked in a cubicle for 8 years. He'd never had his own space, his own door, his own view of the world outside. David opened the door and stepped aside. The office was modest by executive standards, but felt enormous to Marcus. A desk with 2 monitors, a comfortable chair, a small couch for visitors, and yes, a window overlooking the city. "Mr. Roberts asked me to tell you that he'd like to see you after you're settled in," David said. "His office is on the top floor. Just let his assistant know when you're ready." "Thank you, David, for everything." "Of course. And Mr. Bennett? What you did on Friday, everyone's talking about it. You're kind of a legend around here already." After David left, Marcus stood alone in his new office. He set down his briefcase and walked to the window. The city spread out below him, morning traffic moving through the streets, people going about their lives. Somewhere out there, Emma was in her classroom, probably thinking about him, probably telling her classmates about her daddy's new job. Marcus pulled out Emma's drawing and propped it against one of the monitors. "World's best daddy." He smiled, then got to work setting up his computer. An hour later, he took the elevator to the top floor. Robert's assistant, a woman named Patricia who looked like she'd been running executive offices since before Marcus was born, greeted him warmly. "Mr. Bennett, go right in. He's expecting you." Marcus knocked on the open door. Roberts looked up from his desk and immediately smiled. "Marcus, come in, come in. How's your first day going?" "It's been overwhelming, sir, in a good way." "Please, call me James, or at least drop the sir. It makes me feel old." Roberts gestured to the chair across from his desk. "Sit down. Tell me how you're feeling." Marcus sat. "Honestly, I keep waiting for someone to tell me there's been a mistake, that they meant to hire someone else." Roberts laughed. "No mistake. You're exactly where you're supposed to be." He leaned back in his chair. "I wanted to check in with you personally, make sure the transition is going smoothly. Do you have everything you need?" "More than everything. The office is incredible. I've never had my own space before." "You've earned it." Robert's expression grew more serious. "I also wanted to follow up on something. On Friday, I told you about my son, about what happened between us." "I remember." "After you left, I did something I haven't done in 3 years. I called him." Marcus straightened in his chair. "You did?" He didn't answer. I expected that, but I left a voicemail. I told him I was sorry. I told him that meeting someone who understood what really matters made me realize how badly I'd failed as a father. Robert's voice wavered slightly. I told him that I love him and that I want to meet my grandchildren before it's too late. That took courage. It took you, actually. Watching you walk back into this building after we'd rejected you. Watching you put your pride aside because your daughter needed you to succeed. It held up a mirror I didn't want to look into. Roberts paused. My son called me back last night. He did? We talked for 2 hours. First real conversation we've had since his wedding. It was difficult. A lot of hurt, a lot of anger. But it was a start. Roberts looked at Marcus with genuine emotion. You did that. You and your little girl. Marcus didn't know what to say. He'd walked into this building 4 days ago looking for a job. He hadn't expected to change anyone's life but his own. How is Emma, by the way? Roberts asked. Did she like her art supplies? She loved them. She's working on a project for school about her family. She made me a drawing for my office. I'd love to see it sometime. And I meant what I said. I'd like to meet her. Maybe you could bring her by after school one day. We have a cafeteria with excellent ice cream. She would love that. She's been telling everyone that her daddy works at a superhero building. Roberts laughed. Superhero building. I like that. Maybe we should put it on our business cards. The conversation continued for another 20 minutes. Roberts told Marcus about the investor presentation that had happened Friday afternoon, after the crisis was resolved. It had gone perfectly. The $50 million contract was secured. The company's future was solid. You saved more than just our systems that day, Roberts said. You saved hundreds of jobs.
If we'd lost that contract, we would have had to make significant cuts. People would have lost their livelihoods, their health insurance, their ability to provide for their families. The weight of that statement settled over Marcus. He hadn't thought about it in those terms. He'd just been trying to prove his worth, to secure his own future. But the ripple effects of that 3-minute fix had extended far beyond his own life. "I want you to know that your role here is important," Roberts continued. "Not just for crisis management, but for building a better culture. I want you to help me change how this company thinks about its employees, about work-life balance, about what commitment really means." "I'm not sure I'm qualified for that." "You're more qualified than anyone in this building. You understand something that most of us forgot a long time ago. That the people we work for, the families waiting at home, they're not obstacles to success. They're the reason success matters at all." Marcus thought about Emma's drawing, about the little figure holding a sign that said, "I love you." "I'll do my best," he said. "That's all I ask." The rest of the day passed in a blur of meetings, introductions, and technical briefings. Marcus met the IT team, the systems administrators, the network engineers. Everyone treated him with a respect that bordered on reverence. Apparently, news of his Friday miracle had spread throughout the company. People wanted to shake his hand, thank him personally, hear the story of how he'd solved the unsolvable problem. Marcus deflected most of the attention, uncomfortable with being the center of so much praise. He'd spent 6 months being rejected and dismissed. Suddenly, being celebrated felt strange and unearned. But as the day went on, something began to shift inside him. He wasn't an imposter. He wasn't lucky. He was a skilled professional who had earned his place through years of experience and a moment of courage. For the first time in a long time, Marcus started to believe in himself again. At 3 o'clock, he gathered his things and walked to Roberts's office to let him know he was leaving to pick up Emma. Patricia smiled when she saw him. "He said you'd be by around now. Go ahead in." Roberts was on the phone, but waved Marcus in and quickly wrapped up his call. "Heading out?" "Yes, I want to pick up Emma on time. Her first day with me at my new job. I promised I'd be there." "Of course. Family first." Robert stood and shook his hand. "Good first day?" "The best first day I've ever had." "It's only the beginning, Marcus. We're going to do great things together." Marcus drove to Green Valley Elementary with the windows down, the spring air filling the car. He arrived at 3:25, 5 minutes early, just like always. When Emma came running out of the building, her face lit up exactly the way it had on Friday. "Daddy, how was your first day? Tell me everything." Marcus scooped her up and spun her around. "It was amazing, Emma. Better than I could have imagined." "Did you put my drawing on your desk?" "First thing I did." "Did people like you? Were they nice?" "Everyone was very nice. And guess what? My boss wants to meet you. He said we can come by the office and get ice cream." Emma's eyes went wide. "Ice cream at your work? That's the coolest thing ever!" They walked to the car hand in hand, Emma chattering about her day, about her project, about how she'd told everyone in her class that her daddy was a computer superhero. Marcus listened to every word, his heart full. That night, after dinner and homework and bath time, Marcus tucked Emma into bed. "Daddy?" "Yes, sweetheart?" "I'm really glad you didn't give up." Marcus smoothed her hair back from her forehead. "What do you mean?" "All those times you went to interviews and came home sad, you kept trying anyway. That's perseverance, right?" "That's right." "I want to be like you when I grow up. Someone who keeps trying even when it's hard." Marcus felt tears threatening again. Happy tears, as Emma would say. You already are, Emma. You're braver and stronger than you know. I learned it from you, Daddy. He kissed her forehead. Good night, baby girl. Good night, Daddy. I love you to the moon and back. I love you to the moon and back.
And then around all the stars. And then home again. Emma giggled, their special bedtime ritual, and closed her eyes. Marcus sat in the darkened room for a few minutes, watching her breathe, letting the magnitude of the past few days wash over him. 1 week ago, he'd been drowning. 16 rejections, savings almost gone, hope fading faster than he wanted to admit. Now he had a career, security, a future. All because he'd been brave enough to get out of his car and walk back into a building full of people who'd dismissed him. Marcus went to the kitchen and pulled out his phone. The signing bonus had been deposited that afternoon. $15,000, exactly as promised. He stared at the number, still not quite believing it was real. He thought about all the things they needed. A bigger apartment, savings for Emma's education, a more reliable car. The list was long, but for the first time, it felt manageable instead of impossible. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Dad, it's Michael. I got your voicemail. I'm not ready to talk again yet, but I wanted you to know. I heard it. All of it. Maybe we can try again sometime. Not yet, but maybe. Marcus stared at the message, confused for a moment, before realizing who it must be. Roberts's son. Roberts must have given his son this number. Or maybe it was some kind of mistake. Either way, the message wasn't meant for Marcus. He started to delete it, then stopped. Instead, he forwarded it to Roberts with a simple note. This was sent to me by accident, but I thought you should see it. Congratulations, James. This is the beginning. Roberts's reply came almost immediately. Thank you, Marcus, for everything. Marcus put his phone away and walked to the window. The city lights sparkled in the distance. Somewhere out there, other fathers were struggling the way he had struggled. Other single parents were being rejected, dismissed, told that their children made them less valuable. He thought about what Roberts had said, about changing the company culture, about redefining what commitment meant. Maybe that was his real purpose here. Not just to fix systems and solve crises, but to prove that being a parent didn't make you weak. It made you stronger, more motivated, more determined to succeed. Marcus had walked into TechFlow Solutions 4 days ago as a desperate man, hoping for nothing more than a chance. He'd walked out as something else entirely. A senior executive with a corner office and a window view. A man whose skills had saved a company millions of dollars. A voice for change in a corporate culture that had forgotten what really mattered. But more than any of that, he'd walked out as the man his daughter had always believed him to be. A hero. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of activity. Marcus threw himself into his new role with an energy he hadn't felt in years. He analyzed systems, identified vulnerabilities, implemented safeguards to prevent future crises. His reputation within the company grew with each successful project. But he never forgot what mattered most. Every day at 3 o'clock, he left the office to pick up Emma from school. Every evening, he helped with homework, made dinner, listened to her stories about friends and teachers and playground adventures. Every night, he tucked her in with their special ritual. Nobody at TechFlow questioned his schedule. Roberts had made it clear from the top that Marcus's arrangement was not just acceptable, but admirable. Other employees with children began following his example, leaving at reasonable hours, making time for their families without fear of judgment. The culture was changing.
slowly, but visibly. 2 months after Marcus started, Roberts called him into his office. "I have news," Roberts said. "My son and his wife are coming to visit next month. They're bringing the grandchildren.
First time I'll meet them in person." Marcus felt a surge of warmth. "That's wonderful, James. I'm happy for you. It wouldn't have happened without you. I want you to know that. All I did was show up. You did a lot more than that. You reminded me what I'd lost, and you gave me the courage to try to get it back." That evening, Marcus took Emma to TechFlow for the promised ice cream visit. Roberts came down from his office personally to meet them. Emma, who was usually shy around strangers, immediately warmed to the older man. "You're Daddy's boss?" she asked, studying him with her serious expression. "That's right. Are you nice to him? Because if you're mean, I'll be very upset." Roberts laughed, a genuine, warm laugh. "I promise I'm nice to him. In fact, your daddy is one of the most important people in this whole company." Emma nodded, satisfied. "Good. He deserves it. He's the best daddy in the world." "I believe you're right about that." They got ice cream from the cafeteria. Emma chose strawberry with sprinkles, and Robert showed her around the office. He let her sit in his big leather chair and pretend to be the CEO. "When I grow up, I want to work here," Emma announced from behind the massive desk. "And I'm going to make it a rule that all daddies have to pick up their kids from school every day." Roberts looked at Marcus. "I think she might actually run this place better than I do." "She might run the world better than anyone," Marcus replied. On the drive home, Emma was quiet for a while. "Daddy?" "Yes, sweetheart?" "Mr. Roberts seems sad sometimes, even when he's smiling." Marcus glanced at her in the rearview mirror. Sometimes her perceptiveness still amazed him. "He's working on being less sad. He made some mistakes a long time ago, and he's trying to fix them." "Like the computer mistakes you fix?" "Kind of. Except these mistakes are harder to fix because they involve people, not computers." Emma thought about this. "I hope he fixes them. Everyone deserves to be happy." "You're a very kind person, Emma." "I learned it from you, Daddy." That phrase had become the running joke over the past weeks. Every time Emma did something thoughtful or brave or kind, she'd say she learned it from him. And every time, Marcus felt his heart grow a little bigger. Summer arrived, bringing longer days and school vacation. Marcus arranged for Emma to attend a day camp at the community center, but Roberts had another idea. "Bring her to work," he suggested. "We'll set her up in the break room with art supplies. She can draw while you work. Plenty of employees bring their kids in during the summer." So Emma became a regular presence at TechFlow Solutions. She'd set up camp in the break room, drawing pictures, reading books, charming everyone who walked through. Employees started stopping by specifically to see her, to get their Emma fix, as one engineer called it. She drew pictures for everyone. The receptionist got a rainbow. The IT manager got a computer with a smiley face. Patricia, Robert's assistant, got a portrait that she framed and hung in her office. Roberts got a picture of himself holding hands with two small figures labeled grandkids. He kept it on his desk, right next to a new photo, one that arrived in the mail in July, of him sitting on a porch swing with a little boy on each knee. "My daughter-in-law took it," he told Marcus, his voice thick with emotion. "First time meeting them. The boys called me Grandpa. I didn't even know how much I wanted to hear that until they said it." "How was the visit?" "Hard, wonderful, complicated." Robert smiled. "Michael and I still have a lot to work through, but we're trying. That's more than I could have hoped for 3 months ago." "I'm glad, James. I really am. You know what my son told me? He said that when I left him that voicemail, when I finally admitted I was wrong, it was the first time he believed I might actually be capable of change. After years of empty promises, that one honest admission broke through." Marcus thought about his own fears, his own moments of despair over the past 6 months.
The times he'd been tempted to give up, to stop trying, to accept that the world had decided he was worthless. "Sometimes, honesty is the bravest thing," he said. "And sometimes, walking back into a building full of people who rejected you is the bravest thing," Roberts replied. "We all have our moments, Marcus. Yours saved my company. But more than that, it saved my family." As the summer wound down and Emma prepared to start third grade, Marcus realized how much their lives had changed. They'd moved to a new apartment, a real two-bedroom, where Emma had her own room for the first time. She'd spent weeks decorating it with her drawings, her books, her collection of rocks and feathers, and other treasures she found on their walks. Marcus had bought a new car. Not new, but new to them. Reliable, safe. No more worrying about whether the engine would start on cold mornings. He'd started a college fund for Emma. Small contributions each month, but it was a start. A future he was building for her, brick by brick. And every day, he woke up knowing he had somewhere to go, people who valued him, work that mattered. The morning of Emma's first day of third grade, Marcus made her favorite breakfast, pancakes with chocolate chips arranged in a smiley face. "Are you nervous?" he asked as she ate. "A little. What if my new teacher doesn't like me?" "Impossible. Everyone likes you." "What if the work is too hard?" "Then we'll figure it out together. That's what we do, remember?" Emma nodded, but she still looked worried. Marcus sat down across from her. "Emma, do you remember last spring, when I was going to all those interviews and not getting any jobs? When you were sad a lot?" "Yeah, when I was sad a lot." Marcus took her hand. "I was scared during that time. Really scared. I didn't know how I was going to take care of you. I didn't know if things would ever get better." "But they did get better." "They did. Because I kept trying. Even when it was hard. Even when I wanted to give up." He squeezed her hand. "Third grade might be hard sometimes. Things might not go the way you want. But if you keep trying, if you don't give up, things have a way of working out." Emma's worried expression softened. "Perseverance." "That's right. Perseverance. I can do perseverance. I learned it from—" "Don't say it." Emma grinned. "I learned it from you, Daddy." Marcus laughed and pulled her into a hug. "You're impossible." "I learned that from you too." He drove her to school, walked her to her new classroom, and watched as she bravely marched through the door without looking back. Then he went to work. That afternoon, at exactly 3:25, Marcus was waiting in the pickup line at Green Valley Elementary. Emma came running out with a huge smile on her face. "Daddy, third grade is amazing! My teacher is Mrs. Henderson, and she's so nice. And she said I'm an excellent reader, and I already made a new friend named Maya, and we're going to sit together at lunch tomorrow, and—" She talked the entire drive home, barely pausing to breathe. That night, after dinner and homework and bath time, Marcus tucked her into bed in her new room, surrounded by her drawings and her books and her treasures. "Daddy?" "Yes, sweetheart?" "This is the best year ever." Marcus looked around the room, at the life they'd built, the security they'd found, the future that stretched out before them full of possibility. "Yeah," he said. "It really is." "I love you, Daddy." "I love you too, Emma. To the moon and back." "And then around all the stars." "And then home again." He kissed her forehead and walked to the door, pausing to look back at her one more time. His daughter. His purpose. His reason for everything. 6 months ago, Marcus Bennett had been a desperate man sitting in a parking lot, watching his last hope slip away. He'd been rejected 16 times, dismissed, overlooked, told that his love for his daughter made him less valuable, less committed, less worthy of a chance. But he'd gotten out of the car anyway. He'd walked back into that building. He'd risked humiliation and failure because a 7-year-old girl believed her daddy was a hero. And in the end, that faith had been rewarded. Not because the world was fair, not because good things automatically happen to good people, but because Marcus had refused to let rejection define him.
Because he'd had the courage to try one more time when every logical reason told him to quit. Standing in the doorway of his daughter's room, watching her drift off to sleep with a smile on her face, Marcus understood something that had taken him 38 years to learn. The people who reject you don't get to decide your worth. The obstacles that block your path don't get to determine your destination. The failures that knock you down don't get to keep you there. Only you get to decide when to give up. And as long as you have someone worth fighting for, the answer is never. Emma's breathing deepened into sleep. Marcus turned off the light and closed the door quietly. In the kitchen, his phone buzzed. A message from Roberts. The board approved the new family-friendly policies today. Flexible hours company-wide. Paid parental leave. No more external obligations language in hiring. We did it, Marcus. We actually changed something. Marcus smiled and typed back, "This is just the beginning." Because it was. The single father who had been rejected at an interview had become the man who saved a company, changed a corporate culture, and reminded a grieving father how to reconnect with his children. All because he'd been brave enough to try one more time. All because a little girl had believed in him when he'd stopped believing in himself. All because sometimes the worst rejection of your life leads you exactly where you're supposed to be. Marcus Bennett walked to his daughter's door and listened to her soft, steady breathing. Then he went to bed, ready for tomorrow, ready for whatever came next, ready for all the challenges and victories that still lay ahead. Because he wasn't afraid anymore. He was exactly where he belonged. He was home.